Welcome back. And this is beginning to be my favorite time of the year. And we are thinking about summertime and Chautauqua and the wonderful events that happen right here that we can all go. It's for families, it's for everybody. And my friend Carolyn McIntyre is here, and I don't know what they do without you, Carolyn, but she is the administrator. And next to her is Anne Marie Mertens, and Anne Marie is in charge of this Amelia Earhart event. Now, Chautauqua has been going on for 18 years.
Yes.
And it gets better every year.
Yes.
And the events are free, and they're for all families.
We have over 30 events. You know, there are 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 people that will come to all of these during the 10 days that we have. 2 weekends. You can see all the shows on either weekend or during the week. We have shows in the morning, afternoon, evening. In the evening, we're outdoors under the stars and tents and in parks and things like that.
Now, it starts June the 17th.
Right.
So you can kind of think about that now. And it'll be on for what?
It's on for 10 days,
10
2
days,
weekends.
10
so
days.
the 17th through the 26th, and there's shows morning, afternoon, and evening.
And every year you've kind of had a theme of, what is it this year?
American Adventures. Because one of the things that Americans do, and we talk about American culture, that's what we want to do. We portray what we all are about as human beings in this country. And Americans are adventurers. They always have been. You know, we're the ones that came across the seas, across the mountains, up to the moon. So that's what we do. We start with Mark Twain on one of the greatest adventures, Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn and all of that. And then we move up into the pole. We take Matthew Henson and we discover the North Pole with him. And then Amelia Earhart will take off and fly around the world, and we end up going to the moon with Wernher von Braun.
So you've covered it all.
Well,
and this is an educational thing for children as well.
For all children of all ages.
But I mean, if you have a family, bring the kids along, you know. And you have something to do with Amelia Earhart. Tell me about it.
I do. It is a pleasure to be planning an Amelia Earhart event for June 18th, the morning after the Chautauqua Festival begins in June. We're going to welcome Amelia Earhart back to Greenville. She made her trip here November 13th, 1931, and in June we're going to welcome her back. She's going to fly into the Greenville downtown airport, and she's going to greet families and children of all ages. And she will be with vintage cars and vintage planes, and we'll have a luncheon at the Westin Poinsett where she dined back in 1931 as well. So it's going to be a great event on Saturday morning, starting at 10 a.m. With, again, the vintage cars, vintage planes, vintage games, maybe even a dress-up event for the best Amelia Earhart or just 1930s garb. And from there, we'll have her fly in on her vintage plane and greet everyone. And in 1931, it was a really big deal. We had the mayor involved. The Girl Scouts presented her with flowers and welcomed her to Greenville. And it was a really great time for Amelia Earhart to be in Greenville. And so we cannot wait to welcome her back, have this event in her honor, and host the luncheon at the Westin Poinsett, just like we did so many years ago.
Now, when you do Chautauqua, you highlight America and some of the things that happened that changed everybody's lives.
Well, and this Amelia Earhart event is right here in Greenville. She flew into the second commercial airport in the state. Long before the coast ever saw an airplane, Greenville had the second airport. We have a great downtown airport with playgrounds and restaurants and all kinds of fun things. So we want the community to come down, share our airport and our history.
Now this event, the Chautauqua goes on for how many days?
10 days.
10 days. And all the events are free?
Yes, and they're fully professional shows. They people come in costumes. These are people that have studied their characters for well,
so they actually play, they come and pretend that they are.
And you speak to Amelia Earhart.
People that are going to be there.
Amelia Earhart will be there.
Yeah, we know that. She's
Mark
coming
Twain.
in on a plane. That's
right.
Who else is coming?
Mark Twain is coming, so you can ask him all about what it was like for Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer. We have Matthew Henson, the Arctic explorer, so you can tell him how cold it really was, and how do you find your way when you're floating on ice, and there's nobody else instructions for you. And then Wernher von Braun, the rocket scientist that took us to the moon, the whole reason that we had the great space race in the 60s and 70s, and are still trying to get up there today. So they're really fascinating American characters, and we learned so much about ourselves.
Carolyn, tell me, where is all of this to take place? For some, maybe we have some newcomers that say, I didn't know anything about this.
Well, we have many shows in Greenville. We also go to Spartanburg, Fountain Inn, Travelers Rest, and we go up to Asheville, North Carolina. So if you live in any of those places or are visiting any of those
places. There will be events going on in all of those places.
And there are various different locations. So if you like going to events at the Kroc Center, you can go to an indoor event at the Kroc Center. If you like sitting out in Falls Park on a Friday afternoon and having a wonderful time enjoying our beautiful parks, we set up a tent and we have outdoor shows under a tent at Greenville Tech. So there are various different places, and you just need to look at our website to get the skinny on where they all are.
The thing I loved about it when I've gone in the past, the person will come out dressed as they would have been, and
absolutely,
they present themselves as whatever character they are portraying in history, in American history.
Every once in a while, somebody says, "Now I thought Mark Twain was dead."
Yeah.
Because you feel so much like you're really talking to a famous person, and you get to ask them personal questions.
So, in other words, this is done in a form of a theater where they would be in front of the people and people sitting around, and people can actually ask questions of these people.
They'll tell some stories to start with, so that you get your ideas of cooking. But the main part is that the audience gets to ask questions, whether they're as simple as a little kid asking, "Do you have a dog?" to a very profound rocket science kind of question that only a really smart scientist would know. And Larry Bounds will know the answers to it, so that whatever kind of question you have, you can ask to somebody who will know the answer through that person's eyes. May not be the right answer.
Okay, now who's going to be there besides Amelia Earhart, who's coming in on a plane? Who else?
Well, Mark Twain.
Yeah.
And Matthew Henson, the Arctic explorer.
Okay.
And Wernher von Braun, the German scientist that made the space program for the 60s and the 70s and got America to the moon and almost to Mars.
Okay, so you've got a lot going on.
Yep.
Now, this is held, all of these events are held where?
At various different places.
So it's not all just one place. That's what I wanted.
There's one close to your neighborhood. It's important for us that we have a very diverse crowd. We want everybody to come because this is all of our heritage.
It is.
And it's important for the question and answers that we have people on both sides of the fence. You know, that there may be people that believe in climate change and there may be people that think there isn't any. Well, when you talk to Matthew Henson, and he's been up in the North Pole, and he can tell you about polar bears and dogs and things like that, you learn enough that you don't necessarily change your mind, but you are more informed about what your opinion is. And that's what's really fun, is we get to talk to each other.
And so this is for people of all ages, families, grandparents. Bring your kids, celebrate.
And especially the Amelia Earhart event, because we're going to be playing games from the
American
30s.
history and the things that happened in our country. And in past years, you've had some terrific. I mean, I always enjoy it.
Yeah, well, there are wonderful things to know about American history, but when it comes from a personal point of view, you can listen to it, you can hear it. You may not agree with what the person said, but because it's Thomas Jefferson saying it, you listen a little better. You may still disagree with him, and that's okay. Amelia Earhart. I mean, here's a person that just kind of came out of nowhere, took the burden upon herself. She's an incredibly brave, courageous person, and taught America that it was okay to fly. Most women wouldn't let their husbands fly because they were scared, and the husbands certainly weren't going to let the women fly, let alone pilot the plane.
Right.
But because Amelia was out there putting the word out, flying into Greenville, getting to the Poinsett Hotel, and having lunch with us.
Come then to Greenville.
She actually was the one.
What you do is based on fact. You don't
Absolutely.
just have some story that you pick out of the air.
You know that sign up on the top of the Poinsett Hotel? Big sign.
Yeah.
When she went and had lunch there, she said, you know, there are a lot of people coming into your downtown airport. If you had a sign on the top of your building that said Poinsett Hotel, they'd all know how to get to the airport, and they'd all stay at your hotel. That's why there's a sign on the top of the Poinsett Hotel.
That's
Because
fun.
Amelia Earhart did that.
That's fun.
And it's still there today.
Yeah. So now you start planning a year in advance for all this.
Yes, all of these performers are very popular, and you have to book them almost 2 years in advance
So you
to be
have
able to make sure that they can come
professional
here.
actors
Yes.
portraying the people that are actually there.
And one is a commissioned new character, Werner von Braun. There's no one in the entire world that does an historical interpretation of Werner von Braun. So we've commissioned it to be created as a character because it's so pivotal to the sense of American adventure. Space race is part of who we are. We just don't stop at the border. We keep going. That's
Now,
Americanism.
in past years, you have, bring me up to date. You've had some terrific programs. What are some of the things you've done?
Well, your favorite is Winston Churchill.
Yeah, you bet.
I know you were in the audience for that, but we do Americans, or someone that has had, like Churchill, who is part American, has something to say about American culture.
But this is to highlight our own history and our own background and the people that were part of our heritage.
Yes, yeah, it's who we are, and we are about trying to talk to each other. We all have so many opinions and ideas, and we're all right a little bit, but we don't listen to each other. So when we sit together under a tent with a whole group of people, some think yes, some think no, and then you talk through somebody in history, you start finding out that we really have a lot in common, even though we think we have different opinions.
So now you actually will have a tent.
Yes, for the evening performances, we put up a large tent. I think you have some pictures of some people under the tent.
Okay.
It's a large outdoor tent. It's very comfortable, and it is that old-timey feeling that you're going back to before
That's kind of
television,
fun.
before you're all interrupted with
Yeah.
daily media and everything. And you're just sitting back, listening to a guy talk to you.
And this actually begins on the 17th,
17th of June, yes.
And it goes for
10 days.
10 days. So if, and we have a phone number. If anybody wants any more information, I'll be glad to keep the information here and give it to you. But plan with your family, your grandkids, whatever, and try to present yourselves in this environment and enjoy yourself.
Most people that come always come back.
And it is free.
It is
Yes.
free.
And you
So-
can bring the whole family for free. You can bring picnics
right.
and eat out under the trees beforehand and then go
Okay.
in. We always have introductory music too, so.
Good luck. I will be there. So remember
forward to
about
it.
Chautauqua, and we'll see you there.